The Dyatlov Pass incident is one of the most chilling and enduring mysteries of the 20th century. Here's a detailed breakdown of what happened, what was found, and the theories surrounding it. Basic facts: date: late January, early February 1959. Location: Northern Ural Mountains, Soviet Russia Group. 9 experienced hikers, mostly students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, led by Igor Dyatlov. A challenging expedition for even seasoned hikers. On January 31st, they reached the edge of a highland area. The next day, however, the weather took a turn for the worse, so they decided to set up camp on the slopes of Kolat-Syakhl, which translates to Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. They began their trek from the village of Vizhai on January 27th. Their goal was to ski down the northern slopes of Mount Otorten, and the conditions they were discovered in only added to the mystery. 2 of the men exhibited strange injuries, adding to the intrigue. The surrounding area is known as a place of anomalous phenomena, or a place where things just do and seem to make sense. These reports of unexplainable events date back centuries. If an avalanche did occur, it could certainly explain the tent being sliced open and why the group abandoned it in a hurry. While not as destructive as avalanches, these sudden, strong winds can pose a threat, especially if they come unexpectedly and increase rapidly in speed. The idea that authorities covered up foul play has persisted for decades. Underground coal mining was rumored to have caused tremors felt by nearby villagers the night of the incident. These mines are equipped with infrared sensors, which could have been triggered by the tent's thermal signature. This intriguing theory revolves around the impact of infrasound, a rare atmospheric phenomenon on human psychology. Reports of UFOs in the area around the time of the incident fueled speculation of alien involvement, possibly connected to the radiation found on the victims. However, this theory has largely been discounted due to a lack of evidence and the absence of any motive. However, the decision was met with skepticism, as many believe it fails to address critical aspects of the case. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains shrouded in mystery, a chilling enigma that continues to captivate and intrigue. Despite numerous investigations and theories, the truth behind the incident may forever remain elusive, leaving us to ponder the many unanswered questions and the eerie silence of that fateful night. In the Ural Mountains, another less plausible theory points to escaped prisoners as the culprits, but this lacks substantial support as well. This aspect has been notably explored in modern theories, suggesting that the incident may have involved extraterrestrial life forms or advanced technology. Infrasound refers to sound waves with frequencies below the range of human hearing, typically defined as 20 Hz and below. I also recommend searching for Dyatlov Pass incident to find more content. Thanks for watching. While humans cannot perceive infrasound audibly, it can still influence our mental state and induce a variety of psychological effects. Imagine being enveloped in a persistent low-frequency hum. At first, you might not consciously register it, but over time it seeps into your awareness, creating a sense of unease and dread. The very air around you seems to vibrate with a subtle energy that you can feel, but not quite place. This unsettling atmosphere can lead to feelings of anxiety and tension, making it difficult to relax or concentrate. As the exposure continues, more intense reactions can occur. You might experience auditory hallucinations, hearing sounds that are not really there. Your vision could become blurred or distorted, as if you're seeing through a thick fog. Coordination and balance might also be affected, making simple tasks like walking feel off-kilter. The human body is finely tuned to operate within a specific range of frequencies. When exposed to infrasound, it can respond in various ways. For instance, it can stimulate the vestibular system responsible for balance, leading to feelings of dizziness and nausea. Moreover, infrasound can trigger the release of stress hormones, like adrenaline, further intensifying the physical and emotional strain. Again, this ties in with the UFO angle, leading to speculation that extraterrestrial beings were somehow involved. This could have produced cracks in the ice, collapsing the tent and injuring those inside. This seems plausible given the location and the fact that there was a storm the night before the incident. As the winds pick up speed, they gain momentum, becoming more powerful the lower the terrain. This means that by the time they reach the valley floor, they can be extremely strong. Imagine being in a tent on a slope as the wind suddenly intensifies, shaking and straining the tent fabric. You hear the telltale creaking of the poles. Fearing the worst, you rush to unclip the tent from the ground, desperate to move away from the potential avalanche. In the ensuing chaos, you forget to grab your belongings and now face the freezing temperatures without proper gear. In this panicked state, you stumble through the night, seeking shelter and safety. Furthermore, avalanches are known to produce loud noises, which might have induced panic among the hikers. Snow sliding down a mountainside can also create powerful compressing forces, enough to fracture bones and rupture organs without leaving external marks on the body. This explosive was said to have been buried deep underground, which could explain the strange seismic activity reported that night. The device allegedly malfunctioned, emerging from the earth and injuring the hikers. This aligns with reports of possible UFO sightings in the area around the same time. And if we assume that the explosion was caused by a UFO, then perhaps some extraterrestrial weapon was being tested. This may also explain the radiation found on some of the victims. This could explain the internal injuries found in some of the victims. However, this theory falls apart when considering the radioactive contamination found on several pieces of clothing. Avalanches do not usually leave behind toxic residues. Plus, some of the injuries, like missing body parts, cannot be accounted for by this scenario. For example, this man had a fractured skull, possibly from a massive blow. However, it doesn't answer why some bodies showed signs of trauma while others didn't, nor does it explain the missing body parts or the radioactivity. This hasn't stopped the Russian media machine though, as even last year saw the release of a new film called The Mystery of the Dead Mountain. But again, there was no external injury that would account for such trauma. Another had a fractured nose, jaw, and spine, and one of the women was missing her tongue and eyes. This detail alone gave rise to rumors of cannibalism, although no evidence of that or any other foul play was ever uncovered. It was here, sometime during the night of February, that something went catastrophically wrong. Some were only in their underwear or barefoot, making it clear that they'd set off in a hurry and in freezing temperatures too. All were dead, but two appeared relatively peaceful in their final moments, suggesting sleep overtook them without pain or struggle. Others, however, showed signs of trauma, like this man whose chest had been crushed as if by some kind of compressive force. But there were no external wounds corresponding to these internal injuries. The group never made it to their next planned checkpoint, and when they failed to return at the expected time, a search party was launched. The first clue came on February 26th when the abandoned tent was found. According to reports, it was slashed from the inside, suggesting that whatever had transpired was so terrifying it forced the group to flee in terror. Some items like these belonged to Yuri Doroshenko, one of the hikers. They were all still inside the tent, along with their shoes. This indicated that they'd left the campsite in a state of panic, not bothering to take anything with them in their haste. Over the next few days, bodies were found. The first 5 were discovered nearby. The remaining 4 bodies were not found until 2 months later under snow in a ravine. It wasn't until years later that the levels of radioactive contamination found on some of the clothing raised speculation about military tests involving dangerous materials. The official Russian explanation offered in 2019 after reopening the case was simply an avalanche, which could explain the tent being cut and the subsequent injuries. So let's delve into the most compelling theories, starting with the avalanche hypothesis. Next is the katabatic wind theory. Katabatic winds are rapid downslope winds that can occur in mountainous regions. But there are other possibilities. Was it sabotage? Could someone or some group have targeted the hikers? In 1996, a version of events emerged claiming that military tests were underway in the region, specifically the detonation of a powerful explosive device. A 2007 investigation explored the possibility of parachute mines, devices designed to detonate on impact. But let's shift our focus to a more terrestrial theory, the infrasound hypothesis. The unusual circumstances surrounding the Dyatlov Pass incident have naturally led to theories involving paranormal or extraterrestrial phenomena. Finally, let us consider the theory that the incident was either witnessed or carried out by members of the indigenous Mansi people. In 2020, Russia officially reopened the case, reaffirming the avalanche theory. If you enjoyed this video, check out these recommended documentaries and books for a deeper dive into the case.